Marcus! Brother Marcus, what are you doing? That is not the right
The
slide!
media coordinator's voice is a frantic hiss. He grabs Marcus by the shoulder. Marcus doesn't flinch, doesn't turn. His hands stay exactly where they are, resting on the keyboard, calm, deliberate, like a man who has already made peace with every consequence of what he is doing. On the screen behind the pulpit, the photograph loads fully. 800 people see it at the same time. The worship team is still playing. For about 4 seconds, nobody processes what they are looking at. Then the music dies. Not because anyone stops it, but because the musicians one by one look up and fall silent. The way musicians do when something happens that makes music feel suddenly inappropriate. Rachel, the pastor's wife, is sitting in the front row. Cream dress, matching head wrap, Bible open on her lap. She hears the silence before she understands it. She looks up at her husband at the pulpit. Emmanuel is not looking at her. He is looking at the screen behind him with an expression she has never seen on his face in 14 years of marriage. Not anger, not shock, something slower than both. Something that looks, from where she is sitting, like a man watching the floor disappear beneath his feet. She turns around. She sees herself on the screen. The restaurant, the candle, the table by the window, the kiss. She's passionately kissing someone who isn't her husband. She pulls away and smiles. Her own smile, caught perfectly, damningly, permanently. "Oh God," she whispers. Nobody hears her because the congregation has found its voice. But to understand how that video exists, how Rachel Mensah, First Lady of New Covenant Assembly, ends up in a candlelit restaurant lips locked with another man, we need to go back 4 months to a Tuesday morning that starts like every other Tuesday morning, except that something inside Rachel breaks quietly and does not go back together. And we need to understand Brother Marcus, because he has been watching Rachel for longer than anyone in that church knows. And what he does on that Sunday morning is not a spontaneous act of outrage. It is the end of a very long, very quiet obsession. The argument starts, like most of their arguments, without either of them meaning it to become one. It is 6:45 in the morning. Rachel is at the kitchen counter. Emmanuel is finishing his tea, already in his collar, already somewhere else in his head. The Adeyemi's naming ceremony is this Saturday. I told Sister Adeyemi we would both be there. I can't do Saturday, Minister's Summit. Rachel turns around slowly. Emmanuel, I confirmed on your behalf to her face. Then you should have checked with me first. I shouldn't have to check with you for a Saturday we had completely free. Her voice is even, controlled, but there is something underneath it that is less controlled. You cancelled our anniversary dinner. You missed Daniel's school harvest. You left me alone at the Okunko wedding because someone called with a problem. Rachel, he set his cup down. What do you want me to say? People need me. I need you. The words land in the kitchen and sit there between them. Emmanuel looks at her, and she can see him deciding. She has watched him make this decision many times, deciding that this is not the moment to open this particular door, that there is too much on the other side of it, that it is easier, safer to let it close again. We'll talk tonight, he says. You'll be late tonight, she says. You're always late. He picks up his keys, pauses at the kitchen door. I'm doing this for us, Rachel, for this family, for this ministry. You're doing it for yourself, quietly, and you've just decided that counts as doing it for us. The front door closes. Rachel stands in the kitchen alone. The house is completely silent. She picks up his cup, still half full, rinses it, dries it, puts it back in the cupboard. Then she sits down at the table, puts her face in her hands, and breathes. She doesn't cry. She is past the place where crying feels like it does anything useful. Vivian Asante lands on a Thursday afternoon, and Rachel picks her up from the airport with a smile that fools exactly nobody. They are barely out of the car park when Vivian turns in her seat and says, "Okay, talk." "I'm fine, Vivian." "Rachel Elizabeth Mensah, I have known you since we were sharing lecture notes in year 2. You have a specific face you make when you are not fine and are about to tell me you are not fine. You are making that face right now." Rachel keeps her eyes on the road. Her grip on the steering wheel tightens slightly. "Emmanuel and I are just..." She pauses. "It's just a difficult season." "How long has the difficult season been going on?" Silence. "Rachel?" "3 years, maybe 4, Rachel says quietly. Vivian says nothing for a moment. She looks out of the window. When she turns back, her voice is gentler. "Does he know?" "I've told him, in different ways, many times." Rachel exhales. "He hears me, and then the church calls, and I become, I don't know, background noise." "You are not background noise." "I know that." Rachel's voice breaks slightly at the edges. She holds it. "I know that. But knowing it and feeling it are different things. And lately I just..." She stops. "What?" "I just feel invisible, Viv. Like I am standing in the middle of my own life waving and nobody is looking." Vivian reaches over and puts her hand over Rachel's on the steering wheel. They drive the rest of the way in silence. But it is a different kind of silence, the kind that holds you rather than hollows you out. The next morning, Vivian is standing inside Rachel's wardrobe with an expression of a detective who has uncovered a serious crime. "Rachel, come here. Come and look at this with me." Rachel appears in the doorway. "What?" "This." A shapeless beige blouse that has survived multiple administrations. And this, a grey skirt. And this, something that might have once been a dress but has long since given up. When, and I need you to answer me honestly, did you stop buying things for yourself? Those are perfectly good. They are the clothes of a woman who has decided she is not worth looking at. Vivian drops them on the bed and turns to face her. "Is that what you've decided?" Rachel opens her mouth, closes it. Because standing there, looking at a wardrobe full of colors chosen for invisibility, she finds she cannot argue. She cannot remember the last time she bought something because she liked it. Everything she owns exists to be appropriate, modest, unobtrusive, to take up as little visual space as possible. "Come, we are going shopping. And before you tell me you don't need anything, that is exactly why we are going." What Rachel doesn't know, standing in that bedroom doorway, is that Vivian has already been thinking about something else too. A school reunion happening the following weekend, and a man she met at a conference in Abuja 3 months ago. Warm, attentive, recently widowed, whose number is already saved in her phone. Vivian hasn't decided yet whether to make the introduction, but she is thinking about it. And that thought, small and well-intentioned as it is the first thread being pulled on something that will eventually unravel completely on a Sunday morning in front of 800 people. The shopping mall is Vivian's idea. The reunion is also Vivian's idea. The introduction, as it turns out, is Vivian's idea too. But the choices, every single one of them, belong to Rachel. She will be clear about this later, when it matters. She will not let Vivian carry what is hers to carry. But right now, standing in the fitting room of a store she hasn't entered in 2 years, pulling on a wine red dress that fits like it was made specifically for the body she has been ignoring, Rachel is not thinking about consequences. She is thinking about how strange it feels to look in a mirror and not immediately look away. "Come out," Vivian calls from outside the curtain. Rachel steps out. Vivian looks at her for a long moment. Then she puts both hands over her mouth. "Don't," Rachel says. "I'm not doing anything. You are doing the face." "I'm not doing any face." Vivian's eyes are bright. "I'm just looking at my friend, the one I've been missing for about 4 years. She tilts her head. "She's still in there, Rachel. She didn't go anywhere. She just needed someone to come and find her." Rachel looks down at the dress, smooths the fabric with both hands. "It's just a dress, Viv." "It's never just a dress." Vivian picks up 2 more from the rack. "Now, try these." They spend 3 hours in that mall. Rachel buys 4 things, which is 4 more things than she has bought for herself in the past year. On the drive home, she sits in the passenger seat with the bags on her lap, feeling something she cannot immediately name. It takes her until they are almost home to identify it. She feels like a person. Not a pastor's wife, not a schedule, not the invisible engine running silently behind a ministry that everyone admires and nobody thinks to look behind. A person with a body and a face and preferences and a laugh. And she has laughed today, genuinely laughed, more times than she has in the past several months combined. She does not tell Emmanuel about the shopping trip when he arrives home at 10:30 that night. Not because she is hiding it, because she knows with a quiet, painful certainty that he will not ask. He comes in, heats the food she left covered on the stove, eats standing at the kitchen counter while scrolling through his phone, and goes upstairs. He doesn't ask about her day. She sits at the kitchen table after he goes up and listens to the sound of the house settling around her. He doesn't ask. The reunion is the following Saturday. "There's someone I want you to meet," Vivian says, casually on the drive there. Too casually. Rachel looks at her. "Vivian, I'm not doing anything. He's just a good person. He went through something difficult. He could use a friend. You could use a friend. Friends are normal. I am a married woman." "I know you're married, Rachel. I said friend. Can married women not have friends?" Rachel says nothing, but she files it away, the particular brightness in Vivian's eyes, the studied casualness of her voice. Vivian has never been casual about anything in her life. The reunion is held at a rooftop venue in the city. Warm lights strung between pillars, a live band playing softly at one end, old classmates moving through the space with the particular energy of people who are happy to be seen as they are now rather than who they were then. Rachel is 40 minutes in, standing near the far railing with a glass of juice she has forgotten to drink, when Vivian appears at her elbow with a man beside her. "Rachel, this is Daniel. Daniel, Rachel." Daniel Ize is tall, dark-skinned, quietly well-dressed. He has the kind of face that looks like it has been through something and come out the other side more careful. He extends his hand. "Vivian has told me nothing about you, which I think was deliberate." Rachel laughed before she meant to. That sounds like her. Vivian smiles, says something about getting a drink, and disappears with the efficiency of a woman executing a plan. They talk for 2 hours. That is the part Rachel will struggle to explain later. Not that they talked, but how they talked. Daniel asks her questions and then actually waits for the answers. He does not check his phone. He does not look past her at someone more important. When she says something that makes him think, he pauses and actually thinks about it before responding. He asks what she wanted to be before life arranged itself. He asks what she reads, what music she puts on when she is alone in the house, what she finds funny, what she finds hard. Nobody has asked her these things in so long that answering them feels strange at first, like speaking a language she used to be fluent in and has slowly, without noticing, forgotten. "What about you?" she asked eventually. "What does your wife think about you being here tonight?" Something moves across his face, quiet and controlled. "I lost her 2 years ago. Cancer. It was fast." "I'm so sorry." "Thank you." He looks out at the city lights for a moment. "My son is 14 now, you know. He's the reason I keep showing up, you know. Some days that's the whole reason." Rachel looks at him, at the honesty of it, the absence of performance. "I understand showing up when you have much left to show up with," she said quietly. He looks at her. "Yes," he said, "I think you do." Something passed between them in that moment. Not romantic, not yet. Something more basic than that. Recognition. The feeling of being seen by someone who is actually looking. She does not tell Emmanuel about Daniel. She tells herself there's nothing to tell. The messages start 3 days later. A podcast recommendation based on something she mentioned she liked. She listens to it on a Wednesday afternoon when Emmanuel is at the church, sitting in the kitchen with her earphones in. It is good, genuinely, surprisingly good. She sends Daniel a message saying so. He replies immediately. They fall into a conversation about it that lasts 2 hours. She does not mention it to Emmanuel. Over the following weeks, the messages continue. Daniel remembers things, small things, the name of the book she mentioned, the way she described her mother, the story she told about the time she got lost driving to a church event and ended up at a petrol station in completely the wrong town and sat in the car laughing at herself for 10 minutes because it was either laugh or cry. He remembered that story. He referenced it a week later, and she felt something move in her chest that she did not examine too closely. Emmanuel, in the same period, misses her anniversary dinner. Not aggressively, he simply forgets, the way a man forgets things that live outside the boundary of what he considers urgent. He apologizes the next morning, genuine, brief, already moving toward the day's schedule. Rachel sits with that apology. "It's fine," she says. It is not fine. Nobody notices Brother Marcus watching. He's been a member of New Covenant Assembly for 2 years. Quiet, dependable, always the first to volunteer. He joined the media team 8 months ago. He's good with technology, better than anyone realized, and he uses that skill to make himself indispensable. What nobody knows is that Marcus has been watching Rachel since the first Sunday he walked into that church. There's something about her, the quiet dignity of her, the way she moves through the congregation with warmth and without arrogance, that lodged itself inside him and refused to leave. He's never spoken to her beyond pleasantries, but in his mind, in the private architecture of his imagination, he has built something elaborate and consuming around her presence. When he sees her at the shopping mall one Saturday afternoon, laughing with a woman he doesn't recognize, wearing a dress he has never seen her in, looking more alive than he has ever seen her look, something shifts in him. When he sees her at a restaurant near the waterfront, sitting across from a man, locking lips, smiling the way she was smiling at the mall, something breaks. He takes the photograph before he even fully decides to do it. His hands are steady. They will still be steady weeks later at the media desk on a Sunday morning when he loads the photographs into the presentation software and waits for the moment the pastor asks for the scripture to be displayed. He has been planning it since the restaurant. He has told himself many things about why. That it is about integrity, that the congregation deserves to know that a pastor's wife living a double life is a danger to the church. But deep in the part of himself he will not look at directly, he knows the truth. She would not look at him the way she looks at that man, and he cannot bear it.
It is an ordinary Sunday morning. That is the part that will stay with Rachel longest afterward. Not the shame, not the noise, not the 800 faces turning toward her all at once. It is the ordinariness of how it begins. The worship team is playing. The children's choir has just finished. Pastor Emmanuel is at the pulpit, relaxed, warm, moving into his sermon with the easy authority of a man completely in his element. "Brother Emeka," he calls toward the media desk, "can we have the anchor scripture? Jeremiah 29:11. "Yes, sir." But it is not Brother Emeka's hands on the keyboard. Marcus has been sitting at that desk since 8:15. He volunteered for the early setup shift 3 Sundays in a row to make sure he would be trusted with the desk by today. He smiled at the right people, he carried equipment, he learned every shortcut in the presentation software. He has been patient in the way that people are patient when they are building towards something. He opens the folder. His hands are completely steady. He clicks. The screen behind the pulpit fills. For 1 second, just one, nobody processes it. The worship atmosphere is still in the room, that particular warmth that lingers after good music, and people are settling, opening Bibles, quieting children. Then, the recognition moves through the congregation like a wave, row by row, section by section, 800 people arriving at the same terrible understanding at slightly different moments, creating a rolling sound, gasps layering over whispers, layering over someone near the back saying Jesus out loud, and meaning it as a prayer. The photograph is clear, professionally clear, the way phone cameras are now, the way that feels almost cruel in moments like this. Rachel and Daniel at the restaurant, the candle, the window, her hand over his, her smile, that specific, unguarded smile that she did not know anyone outside that room would ever see. Pastor Emmanuel stops mid-sentence. He turns around. He looks at the screen for what feels to everyone watching like a very long time. Then quietly he says, "Take it down." Nobody moves. I said, "Take it down." His voice does not rise. It does not shake. It carries the weight of a man exercising enormous control over something enormous. Brother Michael lunges across the desk and closes the folder. The screen goes blank, white, merciful. But 800 people have already seen it. Rachel has not moved. She is sitting in the front row exactly as she was when the service started, Bible open, hands folded, except that her face has done something complicated and irreversible. She is not crying. She is not running. She is sitting in the particular stillness of a woman who has just watched the wall she built, brick by careful brick, over months, collapse in under 60 seconds. She can feel the congregation behind her, all of it, the weight of 800 pairs of eyes on the back of her head. Emmanuel steps down from the pulpit. He walks to the front row. He crouches down in front of her, this tall, broad man, folding himself down to her eye level in front of his entire congregation, and he looks at her, just looks, and in his face she sees everything moving at once: hurt, disbelief, grief, love complicated and wounded, but still there, still recognizably there. "We are going to go into my office," he says quietly, "right now, okay?" She nods. She cannot speak. He stands. He turns to the congregation. His voice, when it comes, is measured and firm. "We will take a short break. Ministers, please take your positions. Ushers, please ensure everyone is comfortable. I will return." He walks Rachel up the center aisle. 800 people watch them go. At the media desk, Brother Marcus watches too, and the expression on his face is not triumph. It is something more complicated than he expected, something that looks, if you examine it closely, like a man who has just done something he cannot undo, and is only now beginning to understand what that means. The office is quiet. Emmanuel closes the door. He does not sit behind his desk, the pastor's desk, the authority desk. He pulls 2 chairs to face each other in the middle of the room, the way the counselor they will eventually see does it, and he sits. He waits. Rachel sits across from him. Her hands are in her lap. She's looking at the floor. "Rachel," his voice is careful, like a man carrying something fragile. "I need you to talk to me, not as your pastor, as my husband. Talk to me." She looks up and something breaks open in her, not dramatically, not in the way breakings look in films, quietly, the way a dam gives way, not all at once, but at the weakest point first, and then the rest follows. "I was disappearing, Emmanuel. I was disappearing inside this life and you couldn't see it. I told you in so many ways, and every time I told you, the church called and I became something you managed, not someone you loved." He opens his mouth. "Let me finish." Her voice is steady now, steadier than she expects. "I am not telling you this to excuse what I did. What I did was wrong. I know that. I have known it every single day. But you asked me to talk to you, and I am talking to you, and I need you to hear me. Really hear me, not process me. Hear me." Emmanuel closes his mouth. He leans forward, elbows on knees, hands clasped. "Keep going," he says. "Daniel didn't give me something you couldn't give me. He gave me something you weren't giving me. Attention, presence. He remembered things I said, small things. He asked questions and waited for the answers. Our anniversary, Emmanuel. You forgot our anniversary. Not because you are a bad man, because I am so far down your list of priorities that I fell off it completely." The silence in the office is different from the silence in the sanctuary. This one is alive, working. Emmanuel looks at his hands for a long time. Finally, he says, "I forgot. I actually forgot." He says it like he's hearing it for the first time, not the fact, but the weight of it. Who forgets the anniversary? He looks up at her. His eyes are bright. What kind of man forgets? Oh, a man who has convinced himself that his work is his worship and that his wife should understand that. Rachel says quietly, Emmanuel stands up, walks to the window, stands with his back to her for a moment. His shoulders rise and fall once, heavily. When he turns around, his face has changed. The control is still there, but something underneath it has given way. I left you lonely, he says. I left my own wife lonely while I was busy saving everybody else. He goes back into the sanctuary 20 minutes later. Rachel stays in the office. She sits in the chair and listens to his voice carrying faintly through the walls. That familiar voice, the one she has heard preach grace and restoration to other people's broken situations for 14 years. And she waits. What Emmanuel does in that sanctuary in the next 15 minutes is something that will be talked about in New Covenant Assembly for a long time. He does not preach, he does not manage, he does not perform. He stands at the pulpit and tells his congregation the truth. What you saw on that screen this morning is something that happened inside my marriage. And before any of you form a conclusion, I need you to hear me clearly. He pauses. My wife made a wrong choice. I will not stand here and pretend otherwise. But I will also not stand here and pretend that I did not drive her to the edge of that choice with my absence, my neglect, and my silence. The sanctuary is completely still. I have preached about being present, about loving your spouse, about making your home a sanctuary. And I went home every night to a woman who was drowning and told myself she was fine because she never made noise about it. He looks out at the congregation. That ends today. I am asking my wife to forgive me. I am asking this congregation to give us the grace to heal. And I am asking the person who put those images on that screen, his eyes move briefly to the media desk, to examine what is in their heart. Because what was done this morning was not done for God, and we all know it. Every head turns toward the media desk. Brother Marcus has already gone. The months that follow are not easy. Nobody who has chosen to stay and rebuild will ever tell you it is easy. There are mornings when Emmanuel reaches for Rachel's hand across the breakfast table, and she lets him take it but does not squeeze back. And he understands that this is where they are, and he stays anyway. There are nights when Rachel lies awake, processing the grief of who she became in those months. Not Daniel specifically, not the affair exactly, but the woman who got so lost inside her own loneliness that she made choices she never imagined she was capable of. They see a counselor. Every week, without fail, for 6 months, they sit in 2 chairs facing each other and they say the things that are hard to say and they hear the things that are hard to hear. Emmanuel changes his schedule, concretely, visibly, non-negotiably. He is home for dinner 4 nights a week. He asks Rachel about her day and waits for the full answer. He remembers things, small things. He puts our anniversary in his calendar with a reminder that starts 2 weeks early. One evening, about 4 months in, Rachel comes home from a women's meeting to find Emmanuel in the kitchen. He has cooked. Not well, the rice is slightly overcooked, and he has put too much pepper in the stew. But he has cooked. He's standing at the counter looking at the pot with the expression of a man who is not entirely sure what went wrong. "It's a lot of pepper," he says when she walks in. She looks at the pot, looks at him. "It is a lot of pepper," she agrees. "I followed the recipe." "Which recipe?" "Your mother's." Rachel stares at him. "You called my mother." "I called your mother." She starts laughing. It comes from somewhere deep and real and surprised. The laugh of a woman who did not know 5 minutes ago that she had this laugh still available to her. Emmanuel crosses the kitchen and puts his arms around her from behind. She doesn't pull away. She leans back into him, still laughing slightly, and they stand like that in the kitchen with the overcooked rice and the too much pepper stew. And it is not a dramatic moment. It is not a movie moment.
It is just 2 people, still married, still trying, finding each other again in the most ordinary way possible. And ordinary, Rachel is learning, is not nothing. Ordinary, chosen deliberately, every single day, is everything. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Was it Rachel's silence, Emmanuel's neglect, or what Brother Marcus did? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. Here is what this story is really about. It is not about adultery. It is not about shame. It is about what happens when 2 people share a bed, a home, a life, and stop truly seeing each other. Loneliness inside a marriage is one of the most dangerous silences there is because it does not announce itself. It grows quietly in the space between unanswered needs and unfinished conversations until one day Someone from the outside offers the smallest crumb of attention, and it feels like a feast. If you are in a marriage that is running on routine and nothing else, speak today before the silence speaks for you in ways you cannot take back. Your home is worth fighting for. So is your heart. If you are excited about this story, wait till you hear about the pastor's wife who has a deep secret nobody knows about. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. You never know whose marriage you might be saving.